If he's toxic, it doesn't matter if he's honest. Sometimes a man is only honest about the smallest changes in his feelings because loudly announcing them to the world excuses him from actually processing them. Hi girlies, welcome to Debrief Sesh, where we talk about dating, pop culture, and dating in pop culture. Today, we're talking about the most popular pick on Netflix's newest dating show, Singles Inferno. He may have charmed you, he may have made your blood boil, he did mine. But if you're here, I'm sure you've come across a few guys as frustrating as him in real life. Yes, we're talking about Gwan-hee. I've seen countless comments on social media complaining about the way he got picked by 3 beautiful women, all while being a walking red flag. And the thing is, there are many men like him in real life, and if you're not used to dealing with them, it can be very confusing why they managed to get away with so much toxicity. So today, let's take a look into this season of Singles Inferno and try to figure out why so often we girlies find toxic men adorable. Before we start, I just want to say that all red flags aside, Gwan-hee is by far the most interesting contestant on this show to me. So let's take a few seconds to thank him for entertaining us
with his audacity to say and do absolutely whatever the hell he wants.
Okay, so don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button because it means the world to me. Without further ado, let's dive right into our debrief session. Number 1. They're asking for validation is a form of validation. Asking for validation has to be the most prominent way of communication for a Gwan-hee kind of guy. There is a decent reason why the panelists called him the if boy, because he keeps asking hypothetical questions. At first, they appear to be pretty adorable. But why do we find this adorable? Most women, compared to men, have a more indirect way of communication. Yes, I know that there are always exceptions, but in the heterosexual dating scene, it is particularly true that our gender group is better at reading between the lines and understanding the implications. So when talking to an if boy, we tend to read into his questions and interpret them as his effort to express interest.
Stay with me here.
For example, when he asks, if you get to choose between me and Woonik for a date, who would you choose?
Sounds like something that Gwan-hee would ask.
But we wouldn't take the question as it is. We might interpret it as, I'm interested in you. So I'm trying to figure out if you're more interested in me or you're more interested in Woonik. So there is a playful sense of competition and jealousy there,
which makes it pretty pleasant
and adorable at first. Soon after, we figure out that it's not an expression of interest at all. It's just his way of offering opportunities for the women to feed into his ego. In other words, he entertained himself with validation from his suitors, all of them. And it becomes toxic when he almost never lived up to the standards that he set for his potential partners. There are countless examples in the show, but here are just a few that I can think of. That one time when he wants Ha-jung to answer him quickly without being able to make up his mind about her. And then he wants Min-ji to pick Jin-seok on a date just to comfort him because he doesn't really see Jin-seok as a threat. And then on the very last day, when he still cannot make up his mind about who he would choose, he asks Hye-sun if she regrets anything, expecting that she would give him comfort and express her regret over having chosen Woonik instead of him. So as I said, he never lived up to the standards that he set for his potential partners. And as a viewer, we can easily see how frustrating this type of behavior is, because we get to see him repeat the same pattern with every woman he's interested in. But that is obviously not the case for the women on the show. So to us, when the man constantly asks for validation, that is a form of validation in itself. In other words, we feel validated that the guy is asking for our validation. And sometimes that thought does not work for us. But here's a paradox in my little theory. People like Gwan-hee are addicted to the chase. They love the slightly anxious feeling when they ask for validation and the satisfaction when it is given to them. But if the partner is too easy, they don't feel like they need to ask. And so obviously, there won't be as much anticipation and satisfaction because they could already predict what will happen. That is exactly why Gwan-hee ended up choosing Hye-sun, because because no matter how much Ha-jung and Min-ji try to give him the validation that he asked for, Hae-sun naturally saw right through him. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I truly believe that Gwan-hee only made up his mind when Hae-sun started refusing to give him the validation he wanted. That's when he realized that he had to work for her validation, and he did just that by choosing her in the final round. Number 2. They shift the blame and get away with it. The first thing that raised a red flag for me was how Gwan-hee got visibly upset when Ha-jung wanted to take some time and think through her answers. At first, I thought, maybe he just really liked her and that he wanted to make sure that she was as into him as he was into her.
That obviously was not the case.
As the show went on, it became clear to me that it was just one of his many toxic patterns. What he really cared about was, again, getting the validation he wanted, and once he didn't have it right away, he acted up. The turning point in his situationship with Ha-jung was when she called him out on his toxic pattern. She was 100% on point. I don't even find Ha-jung harsh at all. She was just being very straightforward. But what made me officially red flag this guy was the fact that he couldn't just tell her that he'd lost interest after that conversation. Instead, he was very avoidant, which compelled her to apologize. He later blamed her for apologizing and making things weird. I just hate that this happened to my girl Ha-jung because I absolutely adore her straightforward and hilarious nature. There was no good reason for her to feel guilty because she had a good reason to be mad. And this happens a lot. Number 3, they lie with just enough truth. This one is tricky, okay? So be patient with me here. I know that the panelists consistently compliment Gwan-hee's honesty. They explain on his behalf that his feelings simply change every time he spends one-on-one time with a woman. But I think that's quite a naive take. I mean, I don't blame them, obviously. It's their job
to make things light for us viewers.
But as a woman trying to navigate the complicated dating world, I think that Gwan-hee knew exactly what to say to make his potential partners feel like he was going to choose them, which led to their continuous investment in him. I also think that even if he was indeed oblivious to his actions, it's not okay. It's just simply not okay for a man to be toxic as long as he seems oblivious to how toxic he is. So I don't buy any of the
he's just honest
narrative. If he's toxic, it doesn't matter if he's honest. Sometimes a man is only honest about the smallest changes in his feelings because loudly announcing them to the world excuses him from actually processing them. As I said, I think Gwan-hee knew what he was doing when he constantly told the women on the show how he was leaning towards them. It's a lie with just enough truth to get him out of trouble later. You might think,
but he's not lying. He was indeed leaning towards them, and he said he had not made up his mind yet.
Sure, he might not have lied with his words, but rather with their implications. Again, this works on many women because we are good at understanding implications.
Sometimes too good for our own good.
Do you see how everything makes sense now? So what do I mean when I say some men lie with the implications of their words? Let's think about the context of Gwan-hee's statements. Whenever he was with someone, he would constantly bring up what he disliked about the other women to comfort his current partner that they were a better match for him. In the last episode, he went as far as discussing being in a relationship outside of the island. Thus, leaning towards you, said in that context, implies that there is a very little chance that he changed his mind. As we know, in fact, he was doing this to more than one person, making his behavior very insincere and honestly borderline manipulative. A lot of people shame Min-ji for her persona on the show, but honestly, I don't blame her.
Crying at inappropriate moments aside,
she's rightfully upset in a lot of situations. I get it, okay? At the end of the day, it's just a dating show, right? People only have so much time to get to know each other. But here's the thing, this behavior exists in real life. And without the 10-day deadline, many men would drag it out and drain your energy for months and years on end. In other words, if this happens to any of us in the real world, it would be much more harmful. Number 4. They are genuinely adorable people. Shocking, right? Is there such a thing as genuinely adorable men who are also toxic? Yes.
Okay, stay with me.
I love calling people out on their toxic patterns, but the truth is that we all have toxic patterns, and it is up to us to filter out the people who are toxic to our well-being. Gwan-hee has many adorable traits. He's caring, he's fun to be around, and he seems like a good friend. I think he is the perfect example of how an adorable and charming person can simply be toxic to your well-being, or toxic when it comes to dating. You don't have to villainize a person to justify cutting them out of your life. A person doesn't need to be a villain to be cut off forever. Sometimes you're just regular humans who happen to make you feel like shit. And to sum things up, may I just say that the most conscious viewers understand that the purpose of these dating shows is merely for publicity. So it's very, very unlikely that the decision made on the screen are 100% genuine. But at the end of the day, we girlies would rather get mad at a man's persona on a random dating show than a man who wastes our time and energy in real life. So take the show with a grain of salt, but don't take it lightly when your man is displaying Gwan-hee behaviors, because that might lead to bigger problems later. That's all the tea. Thank you so much for tuning in to Debrief Sesh. Leave a comment for me if you want to hear my take on anything around dating, pop culture, and dating in pop culture. I had fun today, and I hope you did too. See you next time!